no use of cell phones in the council chambers. Please rise for invocation by City Attorney Wallace Duncan.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening to conduct business on behalf of the city of Poplar Bluff and the people that live in this city. We would ask that tonight that the discussions and all decisions that are made would be decisions that would be for the betterment of our community. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you. Roll call, Mrs. Kirby.
Councilman Branham, Councilman Smith, Councilwoman Abshir,
Here.
Councilman Matthews, Councilwoman Pearson,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh,
Here.
and Mayor DeGueris.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Disclosure of interest. Any member of the City Council may disclose any possible conflict of interest dealing with either any item on the printed agenda or with any matter discussed at a previous meeting. Seeing none, citizens' input. Each person in the audience may take this opportunity to address the City Council on any matter which is not on the printed agenda. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there anything any member of the council would like to discuss separately?
I was not here, so I wasn't going to vote for it,
On
for the minutes.
for the minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The rest of it was in your packet. I believe all those were in the packet information, weren't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'd entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion fails.
Yes, I think so.
You have to have 4 votes.
4 votes.
Do we need to discuss it more, or what do we do? Do you have to bring it? You have to bring it back
We'll
again?
have to bring it back, probably.
On the next
On the
agenda.
next
Maybe you'll have
agenda.
time to read it by then?
Okay, we'll bring the this group of minutes and the clerk's report back on the next agenda.
Okay.
We go on to workshop items. Item A, the City Council will discuss a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve a request to vacate a platted, undeveloped portion of an alleyway in the Brown Chapel AME Church to construct a church pavilion. Mr. Avery?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As you stated, this is a request by Brown Chapel AME Church. Was represented by John Cooper and his sister-in-law, Carolyn Cooper, at the Planning and Zoning Commission. I had hoped that one of those would be here tonight. I don't see him in the audience, but I can present the case to you. They own property between Valley Street and Harper Street. You should have a map indicating the north-south alley that they're wishing to have vacated. They own the entire west half of that block, which would be lots 7 through 12, adjacent to Benton Street, and the alley would be along their east property line. They are asking for this to be vacated to give them more room to construct a church pavilion, because on the southwestern part of those lots there is a city sewer line that transects those lots. They can still get the pavilion in, but it gives them more room if they can move it a little bit east. And it won't interfere with anybody on the adjoining property to the east, because there is a ditch in between their property and the properties to the east. Slopes to the west and south, no floodplain. As I said, there is a ditch adjacent to the property. Maybe Hill Creek, I think, may be the historic name of that. Public utilities are available to the site and would be accessed from Harper and Valley Streets, and at this present time they have an unimproved entrance off of Benton Street. According to Municipal Utilities and Missouri Natural Gas, there are no utilities in the proposed alleyway, or in the alleyway proposed for vacation. Staff recommends approval of this request to vacate the 12 by 288 foot alleyway. Any questions? Thank you.
No questions. Entertain a motion and a second to move this item to the voting session to be held October 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, the city council will review a proposed ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute addendum number 1 to the industrial park drainage project engineering contract.
This is just an amendment to the engineering contract. We have another one later on in the agenda on the same item. There's no monetary changes in it, just some wording changes that needed to be corrected in order to satisfy all the agencies involved.
No questions. I'd entertain a motion and a second to move this item to the voting session to be held tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, the city council will review a proposed ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a supplemental agreement between the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, Union Pacific Railroad, and the city of Poplar Bluff relative to signalization improvements to the Vine Street Railroad crossing and the 2nd Street Railroad crossing.
This again is they're putting cross arms at those two crossings. Jeremy, does this also include the C and B Street crossings?
No, I'm going to meet them in October on those.
Okay, so there'll be another agreement
Yes.
when we get to those. They're
And
gonna
that'll
do
probably
some-
be next year on that agreement.
Okay. This is just the Vine Street and the 2nd Street, actually putting cross arms down to where, make it safer for anybody approaching those intersections.
If no further questions, I'd entertain a motion and a second to move this item to the voting session to be held October 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, the city council will discuss a proposed resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a historical preservation fund grant application for funding for the Kinzer, Cynthia, and Lester Street Historic District.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. There is a typo in there, and it's my fault. It should be the Kinzer and Cynthia Street District and not include Lester. Sorry about that. I didn't have a chance to even, we passed in the hall, but I don't think Pam and I have talked too much over the past week. This is a study, like a historic preservationist will look at the properties, determine which ones might contribute or not contribute. And it's not a done deal that we would do this, but it's a study that has to be done for the state to determine if it can be declared as historic as a district, rather than making individuals bring separate properties in for that. The total grant we're proposing is $22,000. $13,200 of that would be federal money through the State Department of the Department of Natural Resources, State Historic Preservation Office, who receive their funding from the National Park Service. So that is the federal aspect of it. And non-federal or local would be $8,800. I have the scope and proposed work that is to be done. I believe you all have access to that. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And we do have a presentation tomorrow night at our Historic Preservation Commission meeting. We are having the draft guidelines, rewrite of the design guidelines for the downtown area. We have a person coming in to speak to that group at 5:45 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. So if you're available, you might come by and check that out. If you have no other questions on this, so I'll go ahead and sit down.
Thank you. No other questions. I'd entertain a motion and a second to move this item to the voting session to be held tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, the city council will review a proposed ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff to enter into a contract with Ozark Foothills Regional Planning Commission relative to the 2014 Historical Preservation Grant.
There's the Corey one.
That one is right at page.
Matt Winters is the person from Ozark Foothills that assisted us with this. They prepared the pre-application and the application, and it amounts to 3% of the award if we are approved by the state. Approximately $770 would be the amount that they would be due. We feel that's a good investment because those grant requirements have become more complicated and more expectations upon the local governments on it. So we feel it's a good investment. We'll move forward with it if that's the desire of the council.
Mr. Avery, when I was talking to them, they informed me, I believe, that we wouldn't be charged that fee unless they actually got the grant, or would we
Correct.
be
If we-
charged anyway?
Right. If we are awarded the grant, and if the council approves tonight and we are awarded the grant, then we would proceed with it. That's when they would receive their funding.
Right.
Right.
I think this is a good thing.
Now
So if we don't exercise the grant, or we don't, sign the agreement, they wouldn't be due that money.
Now, they normally write that fee into the grant too, don't they?
Well, that depends on whether they administer the grant or not. They will not be administering this grant. They're just submitting application paperwork for us. If they were administering the grant, there is a different percentage that they would be receiving, which would be a greater amount, of course. The
This
city will
is
administer.
standard, this 3%.
Yes, it is. The city will administer this grant. Did that answer your question? Okay. Thank you.
No other questions? Entertain a motion and second to move this item to the voting session to be held October 7th.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, the city council review a proposed ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute amendment number 1 to the industrial park drainage project relative to reporting requirements.
This just really clarifies again the scope of the project, make sure that EDA and the city both understand the reporting requirements. You've got a letter from the Department of Commerce in your packets. It kind of explains, again, there's no monetary issues involved in this.
If there are no questions or comments, entertain a motion and second to move this item to the voting session to be held tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to action required items. Bill number 7619, the city council will take action on an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute addendum number 1 to the industrial park drainage project engineering contract.
Move for first reading of bill number 7619.
Second.
Motion second for first reading, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7619, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute an addendum to the general agreement for engineering services between the city of Poplar Bluff and S.H. Smith and Company Incorporated relative to the industrial park drainage project.
Move for second reading, bill number 7619.
Second.
Motion second for second reading, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7619, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute an addendum to the general agreement for engineering services between the city of Poplar Bluff and S.H. Smith and Company Incorporated relative to the industrial park drainage project.
Move for adoption of bill number 7619.
Second.
Motion second, any comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby?
Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pearson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
Mayor DeGaris?
Yes.
We have 5 yes votes.
Thank you. Bill number 7619 is passed. Bill number 7620, the city council will take action on an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the industrial park drainage district drainage project relative to reporting requirements.
Move for first reading, bill number 7620.
Second.
Motion second for first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7620, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute an amendment to the financial assistance award for the industrial park drainage project.
Move for second reading of bill number 7620.
Second.
Motion second for second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7620, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute an amendment to the financial assistance award for the industrial park drainage project.
Move for adoption of Bill number 7620.
Second.
Motion second for adoption. Any comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pearson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh,
Yes.
and Mayor DeGaris.
Yes.
5 yes votes.
Thank you. Bill number 7620 is passed. Resolution number 1782, the City Council will review a proposed resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a historical preservation fund grant application for funding for the Kinzer and Cynthia Street Historic District.
Move for the reading of resolution number 1782.
Second.
Motion second for first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Resolution number 1782, a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute an application for an historic preservation grant, the purpose for which is to hire a consultant to prepare a nomination to the National Register of Historic Places for the Kinzer and Cynthia Streets, is that right? Historic District.
Move for adoption of resolution number 1782.
Second.
Motion second for adoption. Any comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby.
Councilwoman Pearson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh.
Yes.
And Mayor DeGaris.
Yes.
With 5 yes votes.
Thank you. Resolution number 1782 is passed. We're going to back up to item A for the consent agenda. We didn't have, Ms. Councilwoman Pearson wasn't here and didn't feel comfortable in approving the minutes on that, since we've got another council member here.
She had attended 2 of those 3 meetings, though.
Okay. And so I'll ask, is there anything you want to discuss separately on that, on the consent agenda?
It failed, Robert, on this part.
The consent.
Yeah, because we didn't have enough to carry the vote. Because Angela said she didn't have time to read it.
I didn't say I didn't have time to read it. I said I wasn't going to vote for something that I wasn't here for, but that's okay.
I was
You were-
okay with everything that was on it.
We can vote again. It's fine.
Okay. I have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item double D, the City Council of the City of Poplar Bluff will meet in a closed meeting in which they will discuss such matters which are exempt under the Open Meetings Law, Section 610.021.1, .2, .3, .9, .11, .12, .13, and .14 of the revised statutes of Missouri.
I make a motion that we move into closed session after the city manager's report.
Second.
Motion second to move after the city manager report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Bagby?
Don't have a whole lot. There's still a lot going on in the north end of town. You've seen that. It continues to operate. We do have another tenant in the 8 Points development besides Menards. They are not ready to announce as yet, but we have met with them for about 2.5 to 3 hours on last Thursday, I think. And they are wanting to proceed very rapidly. They plan on letting their project for bid on sometime in late February or early March. So they're on a very fast track, and hopefully we'll just continue to see things develop out there. Also, the police department, well, I'll just read it to you. I'm pleased that this is from the U.S. Department of Justice, the Eastern States, or the United States Eastern District of Missouri. Richard Callahan, United States Attorney. I'm pleased to announce because of your work on the above referenced case, you have been nominated by the Assistant United States Attorney's Office to be recognized at this year's annual award ceremony. Congratulations and thank you for your outstanding contribution to the cause of justice. It's their annual awards program that they're involved in. The letters addressed to Chief Whiteley. I just want to congratulate him and the police department as a whole for exemplary work. That's all I have.
Okay, with all the things that have, before we adjourn and go into the closed meeting, with all the things that have been going on, I wrote something that I'd like to read. It hasn't been, this is just for me, the council hasn't voted on any of this, so it's just my comments. To all the citizens who were offended with the proceedings of our council member recently, there is much I would say, but to be brief. Our city is much like a family to me. It's where I grew up, where I raised my children, and where my grandchildren are currently growing up. I've invested 33 years here as a public servant and the last 4 years in civil service. Since I plan to live here the rest of my days, the kind of city I leave for my children is very important to me. There are many approaches we take when raising children: praise, encouragement, private discipline, teaching respect and self-sacrifice for the benefit of other family members. But when a child publicly accuses his own family members of false actions and impure motives without seeming to research the situation, there comes a time to act in order to protect and restore the family name and reinstate the principles upon which the family operates. Such a time has arrived, in my opinion, for the city family, and with it an important teaching. Appropriate behavior sometimes takes the form of courage to stand up for yourself, your family, your city, and principles of truth, clarity, and fairness. The majority of the city has spoken out in support of our city manager and the way the city is being operated by our city council. We are currently growing more than we ever have, but just as a small child who speaks publicly and hurts their family, your actions, Councilman Pearson, may possibly hurt the town you are elected to represent. As you may have learned by now, the council votes on everything, and I feel that in both the past and present, we have had many extremely generous and well-qualified citizens hold the office of councilperson to represent our citizens. All of these officials were dragged into your innuendos of corruption due to the fact that they vote on everything you mentioned as you did. You included board members of different organizations. All these men and women have worked hard for themselves and our community and provided jobs for our citizens. There's no doubt in my mind that the city would not be where it is today in sound financial shape without many of these people who sacrifice their time and energy to contribute to our city. Recently, you questioned the validity of the Missouri Highway Patrol, which is above reproach as a professional organization. The head of their department is appointed by the governor of Missouri, so your claims are going far beyond our town. As a city, we receive grants from the state in several areas. Some are for city use and others are pass-through grants we sponsor to assist other agencies which aid many in our community. The state has the same family mentality among their organizations. One of these organizations is MoDOT, who provides contracts for bridge and road construction jobs to many construction companies in and around our town, which employ many citizens. The state has the right to refuse any and all bids. If the state were to think a member of this community were trying to degrade a part of their family, it could lead to a failure to obtain these grants or bids. This, you must agree, would be detrimental to our community as a whole. And I signed this just as Ed DeGarris, not as mayor. It's just my thoughts. And with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I would like to send a shout out to the Poplar Bluff High School cheerleaders that won first place at state last week. It's a wonderful thing.
It is.
I just want to say something. I'm very sorry if I offended anyone, but I did feel like I did what I thought was necessary, and I didn't intend to make the highway patrol look like they were any less valid or anything like that. I sent it to a lot of people, and whatever is found, you know. I just want to see the city grow just as much as everybody else, but what I felt was concerning, I did not feel that others would listen to me. That being said, I'm just really ready to move forward and work and try to get some things done, and I want to see the city, just to hear that someone would think that I don't want to see our city improve, that bothers me, but I understand, and it's your opinion, and that's fine.
Thank you. Did we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned. Take about a 5-minute recess and come